Hi, and welcome back to Microsoft Project, the full course. So we're going to continue working with our resources, and we're working with our resources and looking at over allocations. We tried to resolve some of the allocations, and we were able to resolve the allocations for Tony up here, but we still have problems with other allocations, and specifically with Jim. And Jim is over allocated in the project. So what we want to do is actually work on how we can modify the schedule to accommodate for Jim's over allocations. One of the things that we're going to look at right now is just focus our attention on the end date of the project. Right now, the end date of the project is August the 26th. So we're going to see how modifying the schedule now and using a function within Microsoft Project will modify our schedule. So let's look at one of the things we're going to do right now is look at go in the tab for resource, and we're going to level our resources. Now, there are various ways that you can actually level resources. You can click on level resource, and you can pick the resource that you want to level. But we want to actually level all resources. So let's pick the resources that we want to level the entire project. This is kind of like a magical function within Microsoft Project. It takes your resources and looks at what's being over allocated and just moves everything accordingly. So let's use that function right now. So we actually move the project, and let's focus on the date of the project first of all. By hitting that function, we have now moved the project to end in September 8th. So the project has now been extended to September 8th from August 26th to September 8th. That's relatively a couple weeks here that we've modified the schedule. Much longer than we've anticipated. So right now it's about a 4-month long project. Okay, so what happened here? Let's look at what specifically happened within the project. Well, let's look at right here. Well, Jim is still working on this one task here with the develop the software requirements document. So during this time frame, while he's working on that, he's not going to be working on any of the infrastructure requirements document. So he's going to get onto that task starting right after he finishes. And so, as you can see now there's this dashed line here. What that's indicating is that this infrastructure requirements document is kind of delayed for this time period. There's a gap. There's a gap now existing between these dates here, between this Friday and this next Thursday that follows, because Jim is not available. So it extends the project for that time period. And as we know, we see that's pretty much the impact for extending the project. Actually wasn't that bad for some of the over allocations. So now we have looked at all the over allocations, and there's a slight modification here. Now Jim is actually the one that was the problem, and we looked at all the various things. And let's look at right now for one more thing, just to see how it looks in terms of our resource usage view. So let's go back to our resource usage view and see how that looks. So what we were worrying about was Jim and the task that he was working on, and how does he look in terms of his hours. Well, right now he's working 8 hours a day throughout. Then he's going to work 4 hours a day for some period on one particular task, and then he's going to go back to 8 hours a day. Now this might seem unusual that a person would work 8 hours a day and then start working 4 hours a day and then 8 hours a day. However, this is what Microsoft Project does take into account. And most likely what's going to happen is that these 4 hours a day here that Jim is working on, these infrastructure requirements document, is probably going to take some time and work as well on some of the software requirements document review. So he's actually probably going to fill up some of his time doing that. So if you look at that and say, well, how is that really going to work out? You probably might want to modify this and say, well, go in here and put in 4 hours that he's actually going to be working on this as well, and then modify some of this time out here. So the leveling function does do some magical work alongside, but you might want to go back and modify it manually. So that's my point here with this leveling function. Leveling function is a pretty good function, but you might want to go back and manually modify some things, because it's not realistic that he's only going to be working 4 hours a day, because he's not going to, if he's not working on any other projects, he's not going to work 4 hours and just go back home. He's going to probably do 4 hours on that particular task, and then divide the time with the 4 hours onto the software requirements document review. So just to fill up some time and actually working on some software. So you might want to go back and revise your plan and look at how you can actually make sure that you are accommodating for this, because otherwise you're going to have more hours attached to your project than you have anticipated. So that's my point in terms of the leveling function. It's a little bit complicated, but the leveling function does modify your project, and it will extend the dates. So just keep that in mind. All right, well, thank you very much, and this is pretty much it for resources.